experience. And it affected him so deeply that he actually stopped writing. And when he was asked to please continue his writings, he says, "So much things have been revealed to me that all that I have written seems like so much straw." It was nothing compared to the experience that he had. And with that deep vision that he had of this oneness with God, he wrote just before he died, "I could no longer express in words who I was and what I experienced." Joan of Arc, we all know about Joan of Arc and her visions and her communion with God. And she was hearing voices of different archangels and saints. And so she went on and ended up leading the French troops against the English. She was moved to do something that probably a lot of us would think 3 or 4 times about doing. I know I would. But she did it. Julian of Norwich had visions that she was actually one of the women at the foot of the cross when Jesus died. And later she transcribed all that she had seen into a work, and actually was the first woman to write a book in English. Can you believe that? That was way back when. Saint Teresa, many mystical experiences. And she described them as a feeling of the presence of God that would come over me so unexpectedly that I could no way doubt that it was Him who was inside of me, and that I was wholly absorbed in Him. She went on to found 18 convents, of which she asked that her nuns be true to their vocation and to dedicate hours each day in contemplation. I spend an hour to an hour and a half in the morning when I have it, maybe an hour at night at the most. But she was asking her nuns to basically be in silence and in contemplation all day. John Wesley wrote that while he was reading the Bible one morning, he came across these words: "There were given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, even that you should be partakers of the divine nature." And that evening he attended a church service, which until that point he really wasn't a church goer. But he said, "I felt my heart strangely warmed," and he went on to found the Methodist Church. William Booth reported seeing angelic beings, and then he had a vision where he saw Jesus, and Jesus gave him a message, and he went on to found the Salvation Army. Of course, we all know about Mother Teresa. Oh my gosh. She had many mystical experiences with Jesus that no one really even knew about until after her death, when they were going through her personal journals and her writings. In them, she stated that Jesus told her to go out and care for the poorest of the poor. And she was told to gather nuns who would radiate his love on other souls. And she was the founder of the Order of the Missionaries of Charity. It's a Roman Catholic congregation of women dedicated to helping the poor. And her order went on to establish hospices all over the world, centers for the blind, the aged, and disabled, and even a leper colony. A modern day example is Marcus Borg, who passed away in 2015, just recently. He wrote that he had many mystical experiences where things just looked differently. He wrote that he would be talking to someone and suddenly the light would change. They would become light. The things around them would become filled with light. And that everywhere he looked glowed with light. And he wrote that the effect of seeing that transformed his understanding of the Word of God from something out there to a reality that God could be known inside of us, as us, and through us. And he has written many books about that experiences. Now, these are just some of the examples that Smith gives in the book of some well-known people who have had mystical experiences and how those experiences changed their lives, obviously very dramatically. But we don't have to have our lives changed dramatically as they did. It could be that right now you're sitting next to someone who has had a mystical experience that has radically changed their life, not by going out and starting a new church or starting the Salvation Army or starting something else, but that it so changed their life that they left a bad marriage, they changed a job, they moved from where they were living to somewhere else. There was a knowingness inside of them that said, this isn't for my highest good. And their lives changed dramatically because of a step that they took. Charles Fillmore wrote in his book, Talks on Truth, that he would not move ahead with anything until he had sat in the silence and heard within him what direction he was to go in. He would have thoughts and ideas, and he always used the statement, I go to headquarters first. He would not go forward with one thing if it was going to be him doing it and not what God wanted him to do. He wrote that he would begin his meditation time by stating, speak to me, O Holy Spirit, with your guidance and your direction. And he would wait until, in the silence until he felt that direction. And it was pretty obvious that once he was given it, he followed it, because here we are today in this beautiful building under the banner of unity. But once again, I ask you, how have your mystical experiences changed your life? What are you doing differently today than you did prior to having these experiences? You don't have to become Joan of Arc and lead 4,000 troops against another army. You don't have to become a Mother Teresa and found nunneries and all that to help the poor, but you can do something for your world right here, right where you're at. I was having a discussion the other day with some of my girlfriends over coffee. I'm going to ask you the question, how many of you ever go into the grocery store and walk down the aisles and bless the food as you pass it? I had really never really thought about it. Sometimes when I'm in there, I just kind of send a blessing to the store and blessing to the people. But I got to thinking, what if I actually looked at every single thing on every shelf and sent it a blessing? But when you think about it, as you're doing that, you're filling everything in that store with love. And you're actually imparting love into all of that. So whoever picks up that food, be it a can of beans or some rice or whatever else, they're going to actually be ingesting the love of God that you put on it. If you're driving down the road, do you take a moment to bless the people in the cars that you pass? I started doing that just as something to do in my drive over and back from Clear Lake when I go every other week. It's like, oh, I'll bless those people, I'll bless those people. Then I'm blessing the hills, and I'm blessing the animals, and I'm blessing the houses. Really takes a nice, when it's a 2-hour drive, it really gives you something nice to do. But you know, just by doing that, you're actually bringing a blessing to each and every person that you pass on the road. You know, some of us are called to do some really powerful things. Obviously, Reverend Jerry was called to become a minister, became a Catholic priest, now Unity minister. And he's sharing so many wonderful ideas with all of us that's helping each and every one of us to grow and be and expand to where we have more of these mystical experiences. And yet, each one of us could be called to just be the love of God walking on this planet. That every step you take, you send love to the earth. Every person you see, you send love to them. Think of how many people, how much energy we could raise if we just did that. Because when we have these mystical experiences, we really understand that we are one with everyone and everything in this world. So what is it for you to do? Just ask God each morning, what am I to do today? I had a friend, this is 30, 35 years ago, who decided to wake up one morning and do everything that God instructed him to do. He was telling me later that he just got up, got dressed, sat in meditation, and when he felt an urge to do something, he did. And so he got in his car and he was driving down the road and he felt this urge to turn down some road, and then he got an urge to just stop the car, and as he was looking around, he saw this yard that was all overgrown, and he had this urge to go up and ask the woman or the person there, whoever it turned out to be a woman, if she needed some yard work done, and she was right in the process of getting ready to put an ad in to ask somebody to come and do yard work for her. So he spent the day, he mowed the lawn and pruned the trees and shrubs and cleaned this and that, and left the yard absolutely immaculate. And he was told to take no money for it. So he took no money for it. That's what he did. Then he went to the store because he was directed to buy a gallon of milk. And he got out into his car, and there was a car down in front of him, and he could see that they were counting change. And he walked over with the gallon of milk and gave it to him. This is what we could be doing. Simple, beautiful things. Giving someone a hug, touching them, catching their eye and giving a smile. When we have these experiences, it lets us know we are all one. Let's share that oneness. Smith says the real goal of the spiritual life of this awakened consciousness isn't just to have mystical experiences. The real goal is about bringing genuine change in us and in the world around us. The results of awakened consciousness is really to transform us, where we can let go of everything that we think we are and to surrender into what is continually arising around us. It's about moving us from being self-centered to giving love on a constant, continuous basis to each thing and everything, to judge nothing and to love it all. And I'd like to finish my talk this morning with a poem from St. Thomas Aquinas. It's called "Could You Embrace That?" I said to God, "Let me love you." And he replied, "Which part?" "All of you, all of you," I said. "Dear," God spoke, "you would run from me if I removed my mask." I said to God again, "Beloved, I need you. Every aspect, every pore, I want to love you." And this time God said, "There is a hideous blemish on my body. Though it is such an infinitesimal part of my being, would you kiss that if it were revealed?" "I will try, Lord, I will try." And then God said, "That blemish is all the hatred and cruelty in this world." So I'd like you to take this into a time of meditation. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and go within. Each of you have had mystical experiences. Each of you in some way knows that you and God are one. And not only are you and God one, you are one with everything else, every person on this earth. Let's fill our hearts with that oneness that we feel right now. That love, that joy that we had in our hearts earlier, let's take and surround this world with that love. One of the lines in the prayer of St. Francis is, "Where there is hatred, let me sow love." As God said, that blemish is all the hatred and cruelty in this world. Are you willing to sow love to all the hatred and cruelty of the world? Are you willing to step forward when you think about it or it comes into your presence, to just be the love of God on this planet, to heal this planet, and raise this planet to such a level that hatred and cruelty no longer exists? So let's just take a moment and just hold the world, the whole world, in our hearts and fill it with love. And let's end our meditation today with the 3 phases that are talked about in the book. You can keep your eyes closed I can say these words and you can say them silently to yourself. If you know them, you can speak them out loud. So let's raise our arms out. And we'll say this in the singular to begin with. God beyond me, in whom I live, move, and have my being. And now in the plural. God beyond us, in whom we live, move, and have our being. And bring our hands together over our hearts. God beside me, you are with me always. And now in the plural. God beside us, you are with us always. And now crossing your hands over your hearts. God being me, I am the light of the world. And the plural, God being us, we are the light of the world. And so it is. Amen.